Lenovo returns with a new Vibe smartphone that brings with it a pretty sleek design and quite a bit of power. It's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is a first look at the Lenovo Vibe S1. There are actually quite a few features that are available in the Vibe S1 that make it somewhat compelling, but the first thing we'll look at is the design. The first thing that we noticed when we got this phone in our hands was just how nimble it was. This is a very thin device, and it's also very lightweight, and it's something that really sticks with you as you're using the phone. The handling is just so easy, and the glossy finish on the back almost helps its case because it just sits very nicely, and even though it might slip around a little bit, the screen is not so big that that would become a problem. That being said, the screen is a 5-inch Full HD display that's 1080p resolution. It is an IPS construction. Underneath the surface, a MediaTek processor octa-core at 1.7 GHz powers this particular device, and 3 GB of RAM is what backs it up. 32 GB of internal storage are backed by a micro SD card slot that can be expanded up to 128 GB more. Now, what is also pretty nice about this phone, aside from the handling, is the fact that the rear and front cameras are given a couple of enhancements. The main one being in the front-facing camera. But first, we'll talk about the rear. It's just a simple 13-megapixel rear camera that has a dual-color flash, so you will be able to get some nice low-light shots using the flash without too much of it being washed out. But the big story here is the dual front-facing camera setup. 8 megapixels for the main camera and 2 megapixels for the secondary camera. Essentially, you're going to get depth information so that you have your subject, usually yourself, for a selfie with a nice depth of field effect in the background. What we also did find in the camera app, aside from having quite a few options, is that it has a lot of ways for you to take your self-portraits. One of the main ways that we noticed right away was the auto selfie. When you bring up the phone to your face, or rather just far enough so it detects your face, the moment that it does detect that there's a face in the frame, it will take a selfie right away. This was a little bit too effective in how we're testing, so we did feel that this was an option that many people will probably end up turning off from time to time. Underneath all of that, we have a 2500 milliamp hour battery that should go for a little while, especially with some power saving features that are available on the S1. The operating system is still pretty much what we expect from Lenovo phones. There are some tropes of it that might be a little bit too bloated. There are some really colorful elements to it, but mostly it is quite functional, and with a 1.7 gigahertz octa-core processor, it should run pretty smoothly and pretty reliably. Unfortunately, the Vibe S1 might not really be available to many people in the West, as generally Lenovo's smartphones kind of stick to European and Asian markets. But that being said, for those of you who are in those particular markets, you might find that the Vibe S1 is a very reliable, very standard, but still very attractive phone that is able to get the job done in a pretty stylish way. So keep it tuned to Android Authority for even more, as we are here at IFA in Berlin on the show floor, hanging out with the Lenovo, seeing what they have in store for us.